thought we sounded better. Not that, yeah.
So you have been in Sweden before? How come it's the first time that you are in Copenhagen, and is the market so small? Or?
No, no, I think it's probably the first time that it was offered.
Oh yeah?
I imagine something like that. Usually if there's a reasonable offer, we go. Sometimes if there's any offer at all, we like to go places we haven't been.
Just like you're sort of an entertainer.
Yeah.
We saw that at the Rainbow. We never got Shakespeare, but we tried. But we were only there for 2 nights and 1
Munich, I believe.
Aha.
Then you were going to Munich.
Yes, I think that's it.
Yes,
Yes, Munich.
Er du ved at være klar?
I saw someone sell stuff. Nice, I was going to buy it. This is one of when I was
Just let's start, and then you can use the tape from this cassette machine afterwards. Could you
If you're nødt til at gå lige ud og spørge, så også.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Is it possible for you to give a short outline of Talking Heads' story, just a brief background? Or is the story too long?
No, it's not too long. I'm just thinking where to begin. Chris and I met as first-year students at an art college. I left the college, dropped out, and then a few years later went back to visit my friends there. And at that time, Chris and I formed a band, and we played at school dances, things like that. Not very serious. And Chris and Tina were friends then. And we moved to New York within a few months of each other, and because of lack of money, we shared a place to live. And we just started playing these songs that I had written. And Tina, we didn't have a bass player, and Tina offered to play bass, and then it made the rehearsals, it made us, when we would play these songs, it made it sound better when we had a bass player. And there never seemed to be much forethought in what we were doing. We didn't plan on where we were going to play or what we were going to do with the songs. We didn't think about what sort of image we had. Nothing like that. Everything was decided upon almost by elimination. We knew what kinds of music we didn't like, what kinds of clothes we thought looked ridiculous on bands, and then we that sort of narrowed it down so that we became what we were just by process of elimination. And then at some point we looked for a place to play when we had enough songs. And we played at that place CBGB's, which was a very small, run-down club. But it was really the only club that would allow bands to play their own material, regardless of how unknown they were. So ourselves and the other bands there, Television and Blondie and the Ramones, we would all be playing for 20 people, things like that. But it was a nice period. There was, although most of the bands, and ourselves included, didn't sound very professional. I think the people who came to see the bands could see that something was going on. There were a lot of nice, good ideas going around. And so they would put up with the fact that bands would have to stop and tune, or people would make mistakes or whatever. And then the press picked up on it, just sort of. All these bands eventually got signed to record labels and got to make records. And it wasn't really until the bands made records that they could start playing seriously outside of New York. And then it just sort of went from there. That's about it for the story, I guess. That was 76, I guess, would be the year when we were playing at these clubs. Then we made our record in, I guess, early 77, something like that.
Seen from a Danish point of view, you have been part of the what we call the new wave scene of New York. But when you mentioned that you were in a period that also created groups like Blondie and Television and Ramones, those groups are pretty different. But do you feel that they in common have something with
they had the music didn't have much in common, but they had things in common. The fact that they just wanted to play in front of people, and they would play at this crummy place just to play in front of people, and they didn't have much of a stage show, or they weren't one of the kind of bands that would work on their album and send demo tapes to record companies and never play anywhere until that they had already had a successful album.
So you mean one important thing is that you want to be, what can I say, on the same level as your audience? It's like that.
You would just sort of mingle with the audience. I mean, you'd be sitting at the bar having a drink, and then when the time came, you'd go to the stage and play.
No superstardom.
Yeah, it was like that with all those bands, and all the bands would sit in the audience to hear the other bands.
But is it possible to keep that atmosphere today when both you and Blondie and Ramones has been kind of at least recording stars?
Yeah,
Blondie maybe superstars to some degree.
It is difficult, and it's a shame. And it's not the band's fault that they can't do that. You know, the bands, all the people in those bands, I think, still like to hear what the other local bands are doing, and the little bands that haven't recorded yet are doing, and encourage them. But it's very difficult if you want to go to a club and people constantly want to talk to you or ask you questions or whatever. I mean, you know what I mean? If you just want to, if in a situation like that, you just want to hear the band, and maybe you go with a friend or something, and it's not like you're making an appearance for publicity.
But how do you then feel playing in front of an audience of 30,000 people? Well, it must be pretty difficult to get in touch with the audience.
Yes, it is in a way, but it's not as difficult outdoors, because outdoors you feel like people can either they're not stuck in a building. They can, if they don't find us that exciting, they can wander off somewhere and then come back to hear someone else.
What's your route in music? You told me about the group's route, but you said that you have been making poems before you started in music.
No, not poems. I've just been writing the songs. I'm writing words to songs.
But that was after you started playing, or have you written words before you made it into music?
But they were, yes, but they were all for songs. They were designed for songs. They weren't poetry.
Could you describe what, when I just listened to your show this afternoon, there seems to be kind of red line through the songs, not in a story way, but in a way of a mood, in a way of an attitude. Is it possible for you to describe the type of the themes in the songs that you are writing?
Honestly, not very well. No. The songs vary so much, I think. From song to song, a lot of songs contradict one another. And a lot of the songs contradict themselves internally. There's
like the strange title with the burning buildings to be in love with.
Yeah, it doesn't make it much. It contradicts itself. I have trouble distancing myself, standing apart from the songs, to be able to tell what sort of attitude there is coming across.
But you
I sort of just work on them and try to make them what I think is good.
Yeah, but you don't write them with a political aim or an ideologically aim, or do you have a philosophy behind?
I would take a song, if I have an ideological belief, I would usually consider it a challenge to write a song with the opposite belief.
Not to be caught?
I don't know why. It's just more of a challenge. And that if I wrote exactly if I wrote down the ideology I believed, it would seem too dogmatic to me. So I would rather force myself to write something and sort of try to convince myself that the opposite is also true, or that the opposite is also could be believable.
But that is word-wise or lyric-wise, but in the music you seem to keep very steady line. I mean, you're not in the music changing from one attitude to another. All your songs, it's very easy to hear that this is a talking head tune. And I mean it in a positive way.
Yeah.
So it's the lyrics that you want to make those contradictions.
Yeah. Well, in a way, sometimes I think the music does that too. In a way, sometimes I think the music will have things like there'll be sometimes things like a country and western guitar part, and then a rhythm and blues bass part. Things like that that normally don't fit together.
But your rhythm part is very special for the group.
Yeah.
So we changed.
You almost have a sort of disco pulse on the drums, and then you build around.
Yeah, in a way, I like music that you can move to, that moves your body. I don't think that it was right over there. That white one?
Yeah.
Hey, there was, and the other guitar, the one that was loaned by Ace, the other guitar, the one that was loaned by some other band, there was, the kid had a little gray compressor in there, which has disappeared.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You said that you had been an art student once. Has that had any influence on the covers on your albums? The two covers on the Shire albums are very different, but are there any special story behind the last one, the one with all the Polaroid photos? It seems to be such a big project that there must be a special idea or a special aim behind.
I had done smaller ones like that. I did one of my guitar and some other things. And I wasn't even thinking of it for the cover. I just thought, oh, I'll do one of the group. It might look nice. And everybody really liked it, so we used it for the cover. It wasn't planned for the cover.
It's more aesthetic interest than an interesting in a special message in the way you were doing it.
I liked the idea that anybody could have done it. Everybody knows how to work a Polaroid. This was just a Polaroid with a close-up lens on it. And anybody could have done it. You didn't have to focus or anything. With a close-up lens, you just look in the little eyesight, move in until it looks sharp, and then click. And you've got it. And then it's just like putting together a puzzle. You take pictures that fit and make the person look like a person. And then you just proceed from there, and it's a long process, but I like the fact that anybody could do it. I also liked the fact that it was a photo of the group. I mean, you could see that here were 4 humans involved, but it wasn't just a straightforward, nice glamorous picture of the group, which I was very against having a photo of the group on the record at all, because I think it's immaterial to the music.
Do you have a new album out later this year?
Yeah, Jerry and I were just at the mastering session, cutting the disc. And we got in a taxi to the airport in New York. That was last night.
What's the title of the album?
Fear of Music.
Fear of Music?
Yeah.
Again, a contradiction.
Yeah.
Could you give us a few?
I have been reading a book a while back about called Music and the Brain. That, among other things, it described a lot of musical diseases. It's the most common, which is being tone deaf. And so that was one of the more obscure diseases. There is a long name for it. People who have this fear of music, much the same as people would have be allergic to cat or something like that. But it's fairly severe. These people that have this disease have to, if they're walking through a town and they hear music coming out of a bar, they have to walk out of their way to avoid it. So most of these people have to live in the countryside. I guess they have to be fairly quiet. They can't listen to the radio or anything.
Country music ain't that dangerous.
I guess they people that have that disease will never hear our records.
Are there any more to tell about the album? Is it all new songs or?
Yes, we played a few of them tonight. This afternoon.
Yeah.
5, I think 5.
So this studio that you use the same as the last one?
No, we worked in New York this time, and we recorded what are called the basic tracks. The tracks with the whole band playing together were all recorded at the place where Chris and Tina live, which is where we rehearse. And we had one of those mobile recording studios and one of those trucks. Come there and run their cables in the window, and we recorded everything there because that was the sound we got used to. We felt comfortable with it. And then we went to the Hit Factory, and then at the Atlantic Studios, RPM Studios, and then the Record Plant was the one we finished up at. We just jumped from one to another, sort of as the time was available, as they were open.
But did you work the same way as you did on more songs? I mean, with Eno, already has his synthesizers. Played directly to the.
Yeah, he played. I think he played less on this record, but we played around more on this record. There's more. No, I did. There were some songs that, when they were recorded, I hadn't written the words for them, and so but they were arranged as if they had words. They would have a verse part and a chorus. And then I would listen to them at home and write the words that might be written. I liked doing that. I'd never done that before. It was very scary to record a song that didn't have any words. But it was good because I could. Usually I had written things where I would be playing guitar at the same time. And I think my vocal melodies would be limited by what I could play and sing at the same time. Whereas there's a couple of songs in that record that I can't play and sing at the same time.
Is there any new direction in your songwriting? I mentioned a couple of titles, Air and Heaven. Sounded maybe it was different from your.
Yeah, some of them are different. Some of them are denser. Yeah, sort of. They sound sort of a lot of sound sort of squashed in there. Not very many open spaces. Then there's other ones that are very open. There's lots of empty spaces. Then there's some that have. There's some that are sort of psychedelic. Yeah, they're not. I don't mean they're influenced by drugs. They're not about drugs, but they sound sort of like psychedelic music. They have a lot of funny sounds in them.
I read a quote you once said in I think it was News Express about the days of naive rock bands were over. You remember that?
Yes.
He asked me to deliver it.
I think there are a lot of those bands around. So don't you think so? If you look at the current.
Yes, but no.
Primitive bands.
Yeah, something changed. Someone said dollars.
Scene is rather going back to a more primitive way of playing rock and roll.
Yes, but what I meant was they thought about it. And they decided this is what they're going to do. It's not, a lot of them decided this is what's going to be better. More important now than jazz rock or whatever.
Then just linger along.
I mean, this is what they're saying.
Jeff Beck is playing tonight.
Yeah. No. But I just mean it was very conscious. They're very conscious. Although there's a lot of energy, they're very conscious of what they're doing. What?
As a conscious reaction against.
Yes. It's not just like somebody coming out of the woods and this is what they play. I mean, it's a conscious reaction, or what you would call reactionary. It's a reaction against previous music, and it's very self-aware. It's aware. The bands are very aware. We are a reaction against this, and that's what we are. I mean, I'm not talking about ourselves. I'm talking about these other bands, but in a sense, we are too.
You consider yourself being reactionary to the jazz rock movement.
Well, not so much that, but just the big rock stars and all that. People that will show off on stage. And more than anything, it was just sort of a lack of honesty in a lot of rock. It didn't seem to come from inside anywhere. It just seemed like people working on songs or something.
But what about you? I mean, do you consider yourself some sort of arts group, or I mean, do you consider yourself to be among groups like the pop group and the Fancies and I mean, there's a whole lot of groups.
Yeah,
do you consider yourself part of that? Can you see any?
I see a connection. I really like those records. I like those records quite a lot. I think they seem to be those people seem to be taking some chances. Really worth it. It's about time somebody took some chances. And I think we do that too. I don't think we sound exactly like them, but I don't think we sound like those groups. But we have things in common, I think.
But at the same time, you have made the charts. How do you feel being both against and then made the charts? I mean,
that's what it's about. That's what it's about, though. I know, but that's what it's about. It's about doing something that you think is good and that's interesting, and yet people get to hear it. I mean, to me, that's what it's about. If it makes the charts, that means people are hearing it, and that they also think this is interesting. And I mean, that's what it's about, getting your ideas across. And there are a lot of wonderful bands that don't have much success, which is a great shame. But to me, you should try to have some success in order to get your ideas across. Wonderful ideas or wonderful performances or whatever aren't very much good if no one hears it.
Could you mention a few from the New York scene that it would be worth hearing, but that we maybe could expect to hear later on, or that are...
Oh, okay. I think, who have I seen recently? I I saw the Contortions or James White and the Blacks. I think they've made a record now.
Yeah.
And then,
On the No New York album, there are some tracks.
yeah,
with the
but
Contortions.
they've made an album all their own now, which is pretty good.
breakfast on the aeroplane. They give me crayfish for
There's a group we played before we played, the B-52s. They're from Georgia. They made a record.
Have your Limburger.
There's which is just coming out, I think.
Even in Denmark.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
I just
think-
heard it yesterday.
And I think there's a group. This guy, Robin Crutchfield, and his group Dark Day, which is similar to stuff like Pop Group and The Normal. That in that category, and that's pretty good. Gee, who else is there? I heard a good single in Australia by this group, Whirly World.
You have always recorded on Shire Records.
Yeah.
I mean, so many of the new groups start on small independent labels or make their own records in order just to express what they want, also promotion-wise or design-wise. But you have never had any conflicts with your record company. Is it possible for you to?
Not too much, no. We have, the only problems are keeping it, and they don't pressure us. They don't pressure me to write commercial songs or make pretty covers or anything like that. The only problems would be with things like the ads and things like that, which I always think should be very low key. I should just maybe tell people, oh, this band has a new record out. Here's what it looks like, and that's it. Here's the songs that are on it.
But artistically, you have freedom when you can record what you want.
They haven't. They might be hearing the record today. Yeah, for the first time. I don't think they've heard it before.
Are you paying the cost of the records, or are they paying? I mean, if they give you totally freedom, do you also give you a freedom?
We've done it. We've arranged it now, so we pay for the records, and we pay for the producer and all that. So that gives us more freedom. If we decide we need another day in the studio, then we buy another day. It also works out that a lot of times when people make records, the studio bills, which are very high, get sent to the record company. And then the record company charges it against the artist's royalties. Usually, in a situation like that, since it's like a loan that you're taking, and the record company has really no interest in reducing the amount of money, so they won't bargain with the studio. They won't say, okay, we'll take your offer, and our offer is lower, or whatever. Whereas when we're paying for it, it's in our interest to spend a little time trying to talk the price down, so we can save a little money that way.
But is it profitable business to be in Roskilde? Profitable?
No.
If you have to pay for studio and you have used so many studios and
Yeah, we get by. I think we make about the same amount of money as someone who works in an office, works 9 to 5, something like that. You know, we make a living. That's about it. We don't have big houses or anything.
you still play the CBGB and the other small clubs in New York.
Not in New York. It would get too crowded. It would be very uncomfortable for the audience. In some other towns, we can do that. We can play the smaller clubs. And But it's okay.
Fine.
I'm sorry, maybe I repeat some of the questions because I've been away, but I would like to talk about your songwriting, if you don't mind, again.
No, I don't mind. Let me just, can you wait a minute?
Yeah, okay.
No.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of like reading about your songs being like open short stories and no moral in the songs, and like very open and very strict. I mean, could you say something about explain how you work and what you try to do?
I think some of the songs are that way. Some of them tell a little story with no moral, but and then some of them are more just ideas, right? That don't. It doesn't really tell a story of someone doing something. It's just an idea of someone's way of looking at things. And I tend to do that. I tend to have an idea for lyrics, rather than just hum along and see what sounds good. I'll try to write from a particular point of view. I have lists of things like write a song from this point of view, write a song about this subject, write a song from this point of view dealing with this subject, and that sort of thing. And so half of those don't get done, and then half of the ones that do get done don't come out very good. So there's a lot of things get tried that don't get used, from my point of view, for words. I mentioned earlier that I tried on this new record writing words after the music was already written, after it's already recorded, and that there's ways of slightly changing the songs to fit the words more. But generally, I would try to do it to fit the existing music, and I liked that. That was a real challenge. It made me so nervous for a while. I was like, oh no, wait, I don't have any words for this song. But it worked out real good. It got a couple of things never got used, but some of the stuff I was very happy with. And it was so funny because you'd have this thing that was just an instrumental and really didn't have much character. I mean, it sounded good, but it didn't. And then it sounded like some kind of song, but you had no idea what kind of song it might be. And then you put the words to it, and all of a sudden, boom, it's a song. It was so exciting when that would happen.
Yeah. But I mean, could you tell something about what inspired you to write that way? I mean, which people? I mean, other songwriters, or didn't you start for yourself all alone, or have you something to which inspired you? I mean, there had been strong connection with Randy Newman, I think, and other.
I like his songs, but I don't think I can write like him. I can't even figure out some of the chords to his songs. I think they're probably normal.
The lyrics.
Oh yeah. I think there's less in common now than there used to be.
Less.
Yeah.
And you couldn't mention any others which stand close to you. I mean, I'm not searching for anyone. I just wanted to know if you yourself had any sources to draw on, anything which inspired you in songwriting.
Sometimes it's not their songwriting, but maybe their phrasing. I know one song I wanted to try to use a James Brown type phrasing. just sort of shouting out these phrases. So I did that on one song. The words sound nothing like anything he would do, but it's I think I do things like that. And that one song we sang, Heaven, I thought it would be like a Neil Young type of song, but I think the words are fairly different in that case too. But I would just do that, just take I would really like some aspect of that somebody does, like so-and-so's phrasing on a particular song. I think that's really great. That's a great way to work a song, and maybe use that, but use it in a completely different context.
What about the Al Green song? You played it on chorus. Why did you pick that?
I liked the song. I thought it was one of his songs that were simpler. It was simpler in structure, so that we could play it and not butcher it too badly. And it was also the subject of the song I thought was very strange, but in a very sort of not a very obvious way. But only if you thought about it was it strange to mix up love and baptism. And I thought, this is only people like Al Green and a few other people do that. It's like they start talking about love, and then somebody hits them on the head, and then they're talking about being baptized, and they just go from one subject to the other without, like, there's no difference. And I thought, this is really strange. I would never think to do that. I thought that was great. I thought it was very bizarre, but not in a way that didn't seem bizarre.
So it has something to do with contradiction, which I heard you mention before.
Yeah.
And I think if one hear the lyrics to your song, there's a lot of there's the key words is something about contradiction and understanding, decision and problems, and it's never quite settled, it's never quite open. It's like it's always difficult to explain, but I mean decision and understanding and problem seems to be some keywords in.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, I would agree with that. And some songs, yes. Not on every song. But I do like to leave things open. And not. For instance, I wouldn't want to do a song that is dogmatic, that tells people this is what's right, unless it was from a very strange point of view. Does that make sense? Well, I wouldn't want to tell people to do something that a lot of other people were also telling people to do, because I feel like a lot of other people might be able to give their reasons for that better. They have more time than 3 minutes. Whereas I would rather do something describe something from a point of view that of someone who doesn't get hurt as often. Like the civil servant, and don't worry about the government.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about that song, if it was about corruption or something. I mean, people had put everything into it. What
Yeah, I guess they would.
Can you in fact put everything into it?
We went to Singapore.
No, I don't think so.
Let's try
I
to
don't
tell
think
a
you
story.
can.
Well, I was only at the airport.
No, it's just from the point of view of a civil servant who is very happy with his,
You know what I'm saying? It was like a deer hunter at the airport there.
feels great empathy for the other employees, and and he likes to live in a comfortable building, which they're very dull things to think about, but I think they're also very human. And there's something that I know I could identify with, although they're not my particular point of view, but I could empathize. I could sympathize with that person's point of view. That's why I could write the song, because I could believe it. Although it's not my position, but I could believe it, and I could sort of immerse myself in it.
So that's what you do. You try to sympathize with different people from different views. I mean, like in the big country,
Yeah, I try to get.
It's like the promised land on its head or something like that.
Yeah.
Did you ever think of that?
Of what?
Of like Chuck Berry's on the promised land on the head, the big country.
Yeah, but it's the
like-
Promised Man turned upside down.
Yeah, it's like you said. I don't like America. Whereas Chuck Berry said, I love it.
But I liked it. I liked the song because I give almost the same description. I don't really describe anything that's bad in the song.
No, it's very objective. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very objective. I like that, and then the person just says, "Oh, I don't like it." But there's nothing terrible described. It'd be much easier to describe dirty buildings and people mugging one another. But I thought that's not very interesting. That's more interesting when someone is very opinionated about something for almost no apparent reason.
So it's some kind of humorous song. There's humor at work.
A little bit of humor, but it's also sort of believable. It's not a joke.
No.